It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
All right, this next question is from Justin. Justin said, after maxing out traditional 401k and backdoor Roth IRA or Roth IRA conversion, would you recommend putting money into a taxable brokerage account or in an after-tax 401k? He said, I think taxable, so I could have some liquidity. So he's maxed out his 401k, he's doing the Roth, and then he's got this bucket of assets, and he's exhausted all of his tax-deferred or tax-incentivized saving. And he's saying, okay, should I build a taxable account or should I build my after-tax 401k account? Which would be more advantageous? Well, we need to know a little bit more information, because when you say build the after-tax 401k account, are you truly saying contribute to my after-tax 401k, which that money goes in? If it's invested, it then grows tax deferred, and then when I pull that money out, I have to pay income tax on it, right? So it's basically kind of like funding an IRA, and it's going to kind of grow like an IRA. Or are you talking about putting money in your after-tax 401k, doing an in-service distribution to a Roth IRA, and actually making it a mega backdoor Roth conversion? Because then that is a different planning strategy than just doing the after-tax piece. So would you think about this, or how should he think about, let's assume that he's going to do the mega backdoor, or even just encumber that money in retirement accounts, because really all those accounts you can't get to until 55 or more likely 59 and a half. Does it make sense to keep doing that, or should I be thinking about building up that third bucket of money, that after-tax, liquid, readily available pocket of money?
I mean, there's several things at play here, Bo, and I mean, realize there's only so much we can give advice on a Q&A show,
Sure.
especially when you get into specialized stuff. But I can give some general thoughts here. A lot of times, I love mega backdoor Roth, the discussion of them, and a lot of times in practice, it's harder than we all realize.
Yep.
Because here's the dilemma we run into. Is that the only people that can do these are typically super high income folks. Mm-hmm. And when you're a super high income person, you have really high tax rates. Mm-hmm. You are in the highest marginal tax rates. We're talking about 37, potentially soon to be 39.6. You add your state income tax, you could very easily have 45% of your money going towards taxation. That's where, and a lot of times, somebody who has access to, if you have a retirement plan that allows a mega Roth, they probably have something like a deferred comp built in. And that's where, as a financial planner, we're always trying to figure out, maybe instead of doing the mega Roth, we ought to do a deferred comp plan to lower the current tax rates, so that when hopefully we retire, we can manipulate legally the tax rates and be in a lower tax bracket. But that's not what's been presented here. What's been presented here is mega Roth versus just straight up after tax. Without knowing his specifics, it is one of those things you need to be very careful. Now, look, you've always asked, what's your favorite child on the different, if you're talking about your tax deferred bucket, if you're talking about your after tax, or you're talking about your tax free Roth. The Roth is always going to be the favorite child because it's tax free. Yep. I mean, that's whatever you make with your compounding growth. It's you don't pay income taxes on. That's super powerful. But there is an umbrella that sits on top of that, and the fact is you got to have money to live off of in your current life before you get to retirement. So that's the razor's edge, is that is he building enough liquidity into his lifestyle to where he can accomplish not only living for today, but also building that great, big, beautiful tomorrow. That's a balance that I'd have to see what his living expenses and what he has going on to be able to answer completely.
And I'd like to know a little bit about what his why is. What's the goal? Is he part of the FIRE movement, right? Is he someone who's thinking he might exit the workforce in his 40s or in his early 50s? If that is the camp that you fall into, there's a really good chance that after-tax bucket, the taxable brokerage account, is going to be the one that's going to be the most valuable to you. If you're someone who thinks, I'm going to actually work well into my 50s or well into my 60s, and I think I'll always be a higher income individual, then the mega backdoor Roth via the after-tax 401k might make a lot of sense. But you have to kind of answer some questions about what you think the future will look like before you can determine what the best move to make today is, because what the future will look like will inform what's the best one today. And unfortunately, that's not one that's just like, do this. It fits in this nice little box.
Right.
That's where it does get a lot more customized and a lot more nuanced.